into the country again, thank God, with some peace and quiet. Crispy frost in the shadows. You might be able to hear me walking on it now. It is about, even the sun's shining, which is warming things up, but the underlying temperature is about 0. But I've just walked down the Fosseway. That's the name given to it in the charters. So, you know, 800 AD, 900 AD, they were calling it the Foss. Still is called the Fosseway today. It probably wasn't called that by the Romans. It's a Roman road, dead straight for miles, goes halfway across the country, and they probably called it an eater or something like that, but I don't know, what do I know. But that's pretty, it's a pretty view. So yeah, Foss was just what the English, when they came here, called it. And a foss means a ditch, I think, or a bank and ditch, which it would have had as a Roman road. But a solid piece of engineering, and it's still used today, as you can hear the traffic on it. Obviously it's been had modern engineering on it, but the route, the Roman roads are used sometimes, still today, and sometimes not. The new people that came, there was new economic realities, new everything, and the old methods of doing things weren't appropriate. Of course, it would have fallen into disrepair. The Romans did public spending in a way the Anglo-Saxons did not. So, you know, they did it, the Romans didn't do it necessarily out of, you know, a desire for public good. Those roads were meant to march armies across at top speed, and to, you know, and let traders move at top speed to make a maximum, you know, maximise profits. But it would have had a social good as well. But yeah, it was with everything collapses. So even that settlement I showed you, not everything, but nearly everything. The economy is a market economy that collapses, and actually some people say, Robin Fleming says, it starts to collapse in like the 360s and doesn't even wait for the Roman army to leave. It's just, she says, things collapse. You know, the country goes ceramic and no longer mass produces anything, so it literally becomes subsistence farming. So, and new people come along. The country is a wealthy country. You know, it's you can produce a lot of wheat in this country without any effort at all, and unlike some other countries. But it was not a market economy. It was a subsistence farming economy for a couple of centuries. So it was a disaster. So some Roman roads remained. They kept going, and some didn't. Those ones where people wanted to get to certain places that were on a Roman road, I presume they would have maintained it. Actually, you find that the road shifts over to one side. I presume because the road was in disrepair, people moved. You were still able to follow the route, but not necessarily actually go on the cobbles, because it would have been in terrible disrepair. But anyway, pretty view, very nice area. I hope you can see them, but those lines along the field, along the paddock, those are the lines of medieval, post-medieval ploughing, and they're ridge and furrow. Well, they're furrows, and because at some point after the Middle Ages they decided to not plough this anymore. See, if there'd been modern ploughing, that would be as flat as a tablecloth, you know, with a tractor. So it tells us it stopped at some point a couple of hundred years after the Middle Ages, or during the Middle Ages, and became just somewhere where you graze your animals. More ridge and furrow. Do you see the sluice gate over there? That was a mill at one point. These mills tend to be around for hundreds of years, but that is the River Dikler, and it joins the Windrush, which is a famous river name. Gave its name to the famous ship that brought people from the West Indies to England. They gave us the name Windrush Generation. It's named after this, not this river, the next river along, this is a tributary. But there's one little one little fly in that ointment is that one of the charters says this. Two of them don't, but one of them does. Says that this river is in. They calls it the Wenrick, or the way it was probably Wenrich or something, Wenrich or something like that, because it does mean it's the early form of Windrush. So at least one set of the ancestors of the people who live here now thought that pretty river over there is the Windrush. Of course, saying that one part of the ancient world was morally better than another part of the ancient world, which I did about 20 minutes ago. there's a great big massive fault line across that argument, and that's slavery. Both the Mediterranean world and the Northern European world slaved. So it's hard to say that the Greek world, the Greco-Roman world, was more virtuous. But there's a couple of things. Aristotle tells us there was debate about slavery, and we've got no one ever challenged slavery, and we know of. In the Dark Ages, maybe in the later Anglo-Saxon period, we get Wulfstan, for example, attacking slavers. I believe he does it physically, I think. But anyway, St. Wulfstan, that is. And but in Epictetus, whatever his bloody name is, he was himself a slave until he was freed. And he makes some interesting comments. He never attacks the institution. Well, Stoicism of the Greek and Roman philosophy doesn't really let you desire to overcome those things that you can't control. That's basically how you define it. But he does say a lot of things about treating slaves with compassion. I think it's something for a full video, I think, to talk about that. But no, well, in the later Anglo-Saxon periods, we can see from wills and so on that slaves, thralls, are freed. But that's, you know, that doesn't undermine the institution of slavery. But anyway, so yes, it undermines my argument with the Greco-Roman world, but I still maintain all of the other things, you know, public spending, sanitation. You know, what do the Romans ever do for us? You know, that famous sketch. But they did those things to a much greater degree, science, engineering, than the Anglo-Saxons did. Well, certainly before Christianity and the development of the state. Anyway, I'll leave it at that. Sun's going down a little bit. Some nice earthworks. You can see where there have been, you know, smaller enclosures within big fields. Very interesting. Anyway, I'm going to get back to the car and I'll see you on the next one. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe, comment, leave likes, that sort of thing. If you're interested in Anglo-Saxon boundaries, there's a whole playlist which you should see to your right or left.